what stands out about Oklahoma State?
They're incredibly fast in transition, multiple playmaking guards that can really get out and push the pace. They're a team that takes tremendous pride in attacking and re-attacking, getting into the paint and getting to the rim and the foul line. For those of you that are into the analytics piece of it, I'm sure that if you looked into that, you would see that they have high free throw rates, that they score points at the rim at a high regularity, and that their pace and their transition is very fast. So therefore, it's going to be important. We get our defense back, we get set, we keep bodies in front, and we try to keep them pushed out on the perimeter, out of the scoring area, shooting contested jump shots.
What did your guys, did you feel like, learn on Wednesday night, specifically in that first half where things were really hard for you guys, but you made it even harder for Baylor?
Yeah, I think, in every game, there's adversity and there's different things that you've got to be willing to deal with and hit head on during the course of the game. And certainly, we were struggling to score. It was a very physical game. Credit to them for doing that. They've got, big physical athletic wings, and they've got rim protection, and we were just on our heels a little bit offensively. We weren't able to really get a rhythm or a flow. The game didn't have a whole lot of pace to it. There was a lot of stoppages, and we couldn't get ourselves going. And I think what our guys did a great job at halftime is kind of regrouping. I thought J. Jeff's 3 to end the half was a huge momentum play, and then that carried forward. And then the second half, we started out by, scoring the ball and then scoring off our defense, and having a defensive intent to be able to generate turnovers and score and separate a little bit and put some more pressure back on them. So I think when you look at, every night out, from this point forward, or even as we entered league play, you're going to play really good teams. They're going to do things to put you in challenging spots. You're going to have to figure out in that moment how to fight through those spots. Our guys did a really good job of just staying together, staying the course. There's no such thing. People say things like, "Oh, it was an ugly game," or like when you're playing 18 Big 12 games, you just got to find a way to win somehow. There's no style points, and whatever you got to do to come out of it. And fortunate our guys did.
How much, at least offensively, first half, second half, is just Taman being on the floor consistently?
I think it's definitely a big part of it. I mean, for us, we got multiple ball handling guards on the court, and J. Jeff, who's a mismatch nightmare at all times. So I think when you have that, there's really tough choices for the defense to make. And when Taman's not out there, it's just we're so used to playing with him and his ability to make those plays and get guys shots and do things. So yes, that was certainly a factor. And at the same time, in the second half, they did a good job of kind of trying to limit some of our ball movement. And Taman did what an elite point guard and a tremendous leader does, and said, "Hey, if the job tonight is that my team needs me to score the ball here in the second half because of choices the defense is making, I'll step up and do that." And I think having him out there certainly gave us a much needed confidence in that second half.
I know you talked about the strategic nature of Taman's first 2 fouls, but for your bigs to also be in foul trouble, and you talked about the importance of rebounding and stuff, how did they manage the rebounding task against Baylor with being in foul trouble?
Yeah, the first thing is usually, you get foul trouble if you don't block out and you don't limit your opponent to one shot. And Baylor's, they're elite at going to the offensive boards, and as a result, when they get them, you put yourself in some tough positions to foul. So I think the moral of the story and the lesson is, like, if you really do a great job guarding the dribble, you stay out of rotation. If you stay out of rotation, hopefully you know who you're supposed to block out, and then it's carrying out that job. So I think, unfortunately put ourselves in that spot, and at the same time, I think especially like with Blake Buchanan, we've seen him, through the course of the season when he has had fouls, play really impactful winning basketball at the end, specifically the St. John's game. He had 4 fouls and was so physical down the stretch. So I think for all those guys, it felt like we had foul trouble across the board with everybody. It was just one of those games, and you just got to figure out how to be the more physical team right away. Usually when you can do that, you're the one that isn't putting yourself in those challenging foul situations.
Could you talk about the evolution of Taman's offensive game? Because famously he goes from 20% 3-point shooter as a freshman to working with Crawford and being a capable shooter, really good contributor offensively as a sophomore. Obviously the injuries last year. Has he had to re-evolve after going through the injuries last season and early this season to be to where he is now, scoring 20 points in the second half?
Yeah, I think it's obviously a credit to his, resiliency, continuing the work and things along those lines. I think there were so many things from an injury standpoint that were going on last year that most of what we saw wasn't Taman Lipsy. It was just a guy trying to, he knew how important his presence was on the court to our team. So he found ways to make himself available to play, yet at the same time, the elite things that he's able to do with the basketball, making plays, chasing loose balls down, shot making, all those things are attributable to what his health was last year. So this year, even leading into the season, he was out for those exhibitions and things like that. So he does a really good job in his workouts of, staying engaged, attacking those like a game. And when we're doing team things, he's highly involved and he's communicating. But I think he's a really, really good player. And, I made the statement the other night that he's the best point guard in the country. And I say that partly because he does so many things to impact winning. There might be a better shooter, there might be a better passer, there might be, somebody better at one part of it or a few, but like in totality, when you talk about a guy that defensively has the ability to, to be like the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, like that would be awesome for what he's done making all defense the last 2 years. In order to do that, our team defense is going to have to be great. He's going to have to do a great job individual matchup wise. There's all these things that have to happen, but when you're a guy that you're talking about these extremes of what his assist to turnover ratio is, his ability to score the ball when his team needs it to for 20 in the second half, a guy who's been consistently all defense, and again, something that we really hope for him and we strive for as a team is that he can be that defensive player of the year. That'd be a great honor to him in his last year. So I think just so many things he does to impact winning, and he does it because he stays so highly engaged, and he's actually healthy for the first time in a while.
And in that impact on winning realm, it seems like your team throughout this season has found a way, whether it's everybody producing or whether it's a few guys overproducing versus their baseline, have been doing that. And one that stands out to me is JJF in the first half on the boards. With that elite offensive rebounding team to have a double-double, what does that say? And and then you have the pieces like Heisey getting 2 big threes, guys that keep doing that for you.
Yeah, I think obviously Jay Jeff's resilient. The amount of things he does to impact winning. It starts with his intelligence, his problem solving on like kind of how he can figure that game out and conquer it. But I think it takes resiliency to continue to produce in the manner that he has in so many different ways. It's a ability to demand more from yourself than what anybody else could. As far as the team goes, I think when your team is really connected, when guys feel they love the job that the team needs them to do, they all pour into one another, they fit together well, they care about each other, they invest in each other, then the game kind of has a unique way of presenting opportunities for guys to step up. And we've been fortunate when those opportunities have presented themselves, that we've been able to count on guys to answer the bell. So I think it's really about staying together and celebrating each other and having each other's back, and knowing that for everybody that's on our team, your time will come, your opportunity will come to step up. And if you do the right things every single day and play to a certain level of habits and standards, that will show up for you when the reality of the game sets in.
Hi, Coach. Earlier in the press conference, you called Joshua Jefferson a matchup nightmare all the time. When you guys recruited him, compared to where he is now, how much has his ability to play make and create for teammates maybe evolved and improved?
Yeah, he puts a tremendous amount into his game. He spends a lot of time making live reads and workouts, so he's not just like dribbling through cones. He's making decisions under duress. It's something that, because he sees the game a step ahead, because he knows what the defenses are trying to do, he starts out at strength. And then, I think the understanding of how teams are playing certain things, what's available, all the way down to the chemistry he's built with Milan, and continuing to find him and seek him out, as well as with Blake Buchanan, and I think it's not that there's not tremendous chemistry with others, but he's a tremendous interior passer. He can pass, over the top of double teams and traps and skip it. It's a lot of times where he finds Milan because of his size. So I think it's the evolution as a byproduct of his hard work, our coach's investment in him, but it's something he's always had in him. It's just having the opportunity, having people believe in him, and having it in his hands so he can step up and do it.
How much do you think his size and strength maybe contributes to him being a unique playmaker at his size? Like, there's lots of point forwards, but they're maybe not as big and strong as he is at this point in his career.
Yeah, I think it makes it tough to switch guys on him, right? Because you put a smaller guy on him, and it can be really hard to keep him out of the paint. And so it poses different challenges for the defense. He can be the guy receiving the ball screen, setting the ball screen, same with off-ball screens. So I think at his size, it just makes it a really tough challenge to put a 6'3", a 6'4" guy on him, because, you know, his advantages are even greater in those situations. So, yeah, I think he's fortunate with his size, his mobility, and skill level. That's what makes him, you know, outside of his brain power and his ability to problem solve, makes him such a unique player.
It's been said that Taven and Joshua Jefferson are great leaders by example, but how have you seen your other three returners step up the way that they lead by example? And during conference play, how much do you lean on that overall group for their leadership?
I think with Milan, his leadership is more byproduct of having fun out there, having swagger, bringing enthusiasm to everything that we do. And he's guys, when we start practice every day, he's one of the guys he's got a smile on his face. He's excited to be out there, and I think that's where you've seen the tremendous growth from him defensively on the glass, even like physically how his body moves. With Heisey, he's someone that we count on every single day to be a guy that like brings this competitive spirit and this fight, and he can bring that through rebounding. He can bring it through, you know, we call collisions on defense. He can bring it driving through a closeout. He can bring it hunting a jump shot. But I think his competitive spirit, the more opportunities we have for that to show, the more of an example of leadership that is, not only for himself but for his teammates. And then I would you know, say that Cade Kelderman's probably the best communicator on our team. He's somebody that every day in practice you hear his voice. He organizes our guys when he's in the game. The huddles are better when he's off the court. Just his knowledge of what is all going on and what's important. He's got a great feel for our players, our team, and things that we need. So I think, yes, we've talked a tremendous amount about Taman's leadership and Joshua's leadership, but all five guys that return have set the tone for our program, not only, you know, on game day and in the game, but the things that we ask of them off the court, on the practice court, conditioning, MMA training, all these things that we're doing, those guys really have set the tone for everything.
With Heisey, it seems like at any level you'll see players where they score or don't score, it kind of impacts the way that they approach other parts of the game, but for Heisey, he seems immune to that. What kind of mental buy-in, or what makes him just such a perfect candidate for his role on your team?
Yeah, I think his agenda is to win. He loves to compete, and so it's not important to him that, you know, what the numbers look like in terms of shots and scoring. I think almost at times, especially in some of the early games non-conference, to his detriment, where he knows he could probably drive it and score, or it's a shot opportunity, but for whatever reason he's like, you know what, I think I can just move the ball, get someone else the points. It might matter more to them than it does to I. And then, you know, I think that the difference is, even as we move forward now, and you can see his confidence growing and building, you can certainly see it last game and our guys feeding off of it, is that, you know, he takes pride in making competitive plays. Well, now at times those competitive plays are going to be drives to the basket, all the way to the goal. They're going to be cuts to score. They're going to be knocking down shots. So to me, it's more about competitive plays and him continuing to lead and elevate his teammates, and that's why he's the perfect player for me as a coach and for our program.
And how much time as a program do you guys spend on educating your players on past great Cyclone teams, and thoughts on being able to recognize the 1986 Sweet 16 team on Saturday?
Yeah, we certainly take the opportunities we can during the year to educate our guys and those that have come before us, and we've had Coach Eustace back this year, we've had Coach Floyd, in the past, and I think we spend time talking to our guys about those that have come before us. Mike Green, who works in our athletic department, has done a great job of coming in and kind of talking to our guys year in and year out about some of the teams, some of the players, some of the history, the legacies, and things along those lines. And I think that really helps build program pride. You want guys to really appreciate and be grateful for the program that they're in. You want to have tremendous, respect, admiration, and for those that have come before us and those that have done it and worn the jersey. And so I think it's really important that we understand the history. It's really important that we continue to embrace those things, and that only elevates the pride and the investment that our guys continue to make, day in and day out in our program.
You mentioned Taman's assist to turnover ratio, and right now it's 2 points better than Monte's, and I know that seemed like a record that might not ever be broken. How many similarities are there between the way that they not only play make but take care of the ball?
Yeah, I think that ball security is a big thing. Like, there's a tremendous sense of pride. Like, I think the truly elite best point guards, not because of the numbers, but they know that taking care of the balls is winning of a thing as that anybody can do. If you get great shots, get shots on goal, don't leave possessions, put possessions at risk. And I think those two guys have a tremendous understanding in basketball IQ of how not to do that. And then it's understanding your personnel, who's around you, how are teams guarding the pick and roll, how are they defending other things, where's the help coming from on penetration. And so they also both have that gift of understanding and reading the defense and understanding how to attack the defense. And so then the passing ability to not put themselves in tough spots and to always kind of know that, in the possession, when things become challenging or when there's more bodies, where's the simple play instead of trying to make, the home run play. So I think doing that allows you to continue to stack, positive plays, which lead to assists and keeps you away from the turnovers. So again, Taman's not in this for the numbers. And at the same time, I think when he has the focus that he's had day in and day out on toughness with the basketball, we see the result, on the day or the night of the game, what he's able to accomplish because he cares so much about taking care of the ball, team success, making plays for his teammates.
How much is not making a mistake underrated skill or ability?
Yeah, I think it's a risk reward analysis, right? Like, it's probably no different than a quarterback in football. There's a time you want to thread the needle, and there's a time you just want to keep stacking up simple plays. And those simple plays, eventually, then in football, someone breaks a tackle, and basketball, simple play after simple play, eventually a defense breaks down, and maybe you get a layup, a dunk, or a rhythm three. So stacking up, simple plays is a big part of it. And I think guys that really understand that, it's not about trying to throw the backdoor lob, alley-oop in traffic. It's more about knowing, hey, you're going to help in this gap. Milan's right there. I'm just going to take a dribble, throw it to him. Getting him an open three is a great shot. No different than, like when Monte was here and he would do that for Matt or Naz or put George in a great position.
You've used the word collision a lot defensively, wanting to create those. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but when you talk about creating collisions, do you want your players to kind of absorb that contact with their chest and then kind of drop their arms to their side to avoid a foul, or is that something that you guys don't teach and that's just how players have reacted to it?
No, I think it's more about squaring the ball, staying square to the basketball, and then, if you stay square and you're into the basketball, for the most part, it's really difficult for the ball handler to bring contact to you because, as you crowd them, they've got to go laterally, right? And so, to me, we want the collision to be if they choose to drive it right at you, that, we're going to establish position, we're going to initiate the confrontation, we're not going to allow them to bring contact to us. We're as entitled to that spot defensively as the offensive player, and so I think it's certainly showing your hands because if you're to reach, you put your body out off balance, and then you have such a high risk for a foul. So I think it's more mentality than it is technique of just, I'm going to square the ball, I'm going to keep the dribble in front. If you try to make a play, I'm going to I'm going to present my chest, I'm going to show my hands and try to put you in a spot where you have to reroute. You can't go, quickest route to a point's right straight line. Like, you can't go straight line. You gotta veer out and you gotta be pushed out. But I'll make sure that Kempon puts that in so that it's more clear for everyone's understanding.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.